Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the On the Levee Sports Podcast. Got some new faces in here today. Got OTL Selling, OTL Josh, and of course the resident guy on the podcast, OTL Blake. We're just gonna jump right into what people want to hear about. TJ Finley transferring over to Auburn. Josh is our resident Auburn fan on the podcast, and I imagine you are loving this, Josh.
It's exciting, Sean. It was a good day. Anything to either get Bo Nix off the field or to light a fire under his ass so he actually becomes a good SEC quarterback like he has shown signs that he could be capable of. I'm happy with it. Worst case scenario, he makes Bo better.
Do you see TJ Finley possibly moving positions?
No. God, no.
I think that's why he transferred. I think that they wanted to make TJ Finley something else other than a quarterback.
He could only play tight end or D-line, and we just started throwing to tight ends this year. It's not an attractive position.
I will say,
he's gonna play quarterback, and there's a good chance that he could end up starting. Now, I don't like that. Well, we just signed like a 4-star freshman quarterback that we're super excited about. So I think he's going to end up transferring if I had to guess, which I'm not excited about, but it comes with it. That's just how it is today. But hopefully TJ can come in and play.
And for all intents and purposes, TJ Finley is also going to be a true freshman because last year really didn't count against his eligibility. So he's going to get there and have 4 years.
We got him for 3 years.
You got him for 4, don't you?
Well, he's not going to stay. I doubt if he turns into anything, he's going to stay for 4 years. Hopefully.
Yeah, that's true. 4. I just don't see him turning into that type of player. I think he could be like a solid quarterback, even a championship-winning quarterback. But
that's all we need is a solid quarterback, though. Bo has shown signs, especially as freshman. Here's the progression of Bo Nix as an Auburn fan. Freshman year started out real good, beat Oregon, big win. Started out doing okay, was playing good games. Started sucking real bad, and then built up a little hope at the end of the year because we beat Bama. Then this last year, he looked like hot dog shit the whole year. So I'm just ready for something different. Anything, TJ Finley, I think he could come in and fit the new offense great. No. So I'm just ready for something different. And whether that is Bo Nix coming around or is TJ Finley, I'm excited about it.
Look, man, I hate to say it. It doesn't matter who y'all have at quarterback. A team wearing Under Armour jerseys is not going to make the college football playoff. It's simply not going to happen.
Scientifically impossible.
It hasn't happened yet.
They needed the greatest quarterback in the history, probably the history of the college football, other than Tim Tebow, just to win with Under Armour jerseys.
Didn't Notre Dame make a playoff?
Oh shit!
Got stumped by Bama.
Excuse me. They won't win the college playoff. They won't win the college football playoff. Hasn't happened yet. Hasn't happened.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you about the Under Armour thing. That's been a complaint of mine for forever. We have the worst uniforms in the SEC.
Zero swag.
Blake, what's your opinion on TJ Finley? I know you got one.
If he ends up starting for Auburn, that's not good for y'all at all.
Blake, but tell me, I just don't understand why I understand he struggled at LSU, but who didn't struggle at LSU last year?
Max Johnson.
Yeah, that is a good point right there. Max Johnson didn't struggle
at all.
He played but you found y'all's quarterback.
Yes,
I think that that was just such a hard scenario to come into as what was he playing was that a true sophomore year?
He was a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
How many freshmen come into the COVID year mixed with the LSU coming off a national championship and then getting blown out week 1, so the whole fucking season falling apart? That's a weird scenario to step into. I just think you got to give him a little more credit because he played okay.
Max Johnson came in and did really well.
Yeah, towards the end of the season when he started picking up a little, and Max Johnson's a better quarterback. I'd rather have Max Johnson than TJ Finley, but we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, dude, I think that time definitely helped him too, because like having that extra like 6 or 7 games to not get hit in the SEC and not like let Alabama discourage you
To
and
get LSU kind of stabilized a little bit. That was it. Max Johnson was playing with a different LSU team than TJ Finley was.
Yeah, and
we're just talking about momentum, and we're talking about.
No, he was not. TJ Finley had Terrace Marshall and Eric Gilbert to throw to. Max Johnson.
Just the personnel. I'm talking about the whole momentum of the season.
Yeah, dude, and you could kind of tell that the team liked playing for Max Johnson too. I mean, they really liked playing for him.
Because he was good. We were on a 3-game losing.
Saying that TJ Finley is better than Max Johnson.
Yes, but I'm just arguing the points you're making. You're saying what freshman can come in on a COVID year and do good, and because you're defending TJ Finley, and I said, well, Max Johnson did. I'm just saying I think y'all. Bo Nix is a lot better than TJ Finley, and I'm just saying I think if TJ Finley ends up starting for Auburn, that isn't a good sign.
Well, then it means
it's a great sign for LSU fans, though. It's a great sign for LSU fans.
Okay, let's be real. Auburn's ceiling this year is not very high, in my opinion. I don't think LSU fans should be really worried about Auburn. And
LSU should always be worried about Auburn. Y'all always play us close.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always.
Yeah,
but we always choke it.
No, y'all didn't choke it last year.
Well, yeah, that.
Or the year Myles got fired.
Have we blown y'all out in the
but
last 15 years?
Bo Nix beat TJ Finley like 60-18 last year.
No, Auburn beat LSU.
No, Bo Nix.
Yeah, I think that Auburn defense really beat us, dude. That defense, like, we could not move the ball.
And
LSU
LSU having the worst defense in the country at that time.
Yeah, that doesn't help either, dude. We had so many people out on defense, and whether they were drafted or whether they were
just
COVID.
given up.
Yeah, they just gave up.
State like 3 weeks ago.
Well, we scored 17 points in that game, and 14 of those points were 2 Max Johnson touchdown drives in the fourth quarter. You know, that's all I'm gonna say on that. If y'all are happy, y'all have TJ Finley, then that's awesome.
I am happy that maybe it will push Bo, because he's never had threat of not starting. With Gus Malzahn there, even when he was doing horrible, he never got pulled. He never got there was never the shot or the chance of him not playing, so he could play and do whatever he wanted.
Well, in my opinion, TJ Finley isn't going to push him any harder than anyone else would.
Oh, we'll see then.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not a fan of TJ Finley. If I made it clear.
I think that TJ Finley has a bright future. I just think that he's a quarterback that's going to be a 2 to 3 year down the line project, and he kind of needs that time before he's ready.
Mm-hmm. And our offensive coordinator this year, new guy, is known for developing quarterbacks.
That's good.
He coached Matt Stafford, Aaron Murray, all the early Georgia quarterbacks when they were starting to become dominant in the SEC. I feel like TJ's got a shot.
We'll see, because I like Auburn. Auburn's probably my second favorite SEC team. So I hope TJ Finley comes in and does good, but you know.
Dude, it has nothing on the Commodores, though. Go Doors!
Oh, God.
Those are my second favorite team, man. The fucking Doors!
Poor Vanderbilt.
Dude, they haven't been able to put anything together anytime.
They won't be able to because their academic standards are too high. Honestly,
they'll never be able to compete in the SEC. Sorry.
Yeah,
never.
Baseball is going to be their kind of sport. That's they really thrive there. I think they're going to try to just stick with that. You know, they have a big baseball following.
They should just change conferences and go dominate the American right up the road.
Do you think that they would dominate the American Conference?
No. But I think they would. I think they would be a contender for it.
Yeah, they'd definitely be very competitive. I mean,
Memphis, UCF, and Cincinnati. That's like the top 3 in that division. Those are all good teams, but
and those are also like their primary recruiting rivals. So getting to play Memphis, and if you beat them, consistently, you're going to start carving out more of Tennessee and getting better and better recruits with that.
They can't recruit. I mean, it's impossible to recruit Vanderbilt. It's impossible.
It's so hard to sell. I mean, Nashville is a great city, though. I mean, you could probably sell that type of lifestyle.
Can't stay in school. Like most of these kids, it just cannot stay in Vanderbilt. It's just impossible.
Hey, some very, very stupid people have gone through the Duke basketball program, so I think that they can slide a couple of.
Well, let's look at that's the Duke basketball program. The Vanderbilt football, it doesn't have the pull like that.
That's also true too.
And you have to stay just 1 year for Duke basketball. You know, Vandy, you're going to be there for what is it, 2-3 seasons minimum, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So, I don't see. All right, so I do have a quick question though. What are expectation levels for Myles Brennan next season?
Bench rider?
Honestly,
bench rider. Get him on the bench, or he'll transfer if he doesn't start. But Max Johnson.
You really think so?
Yes.
Max Johnson has to start.
Myles Brennan would be out of his mind not to transfer.
Yeah, especially because I mean his injury is a very weird injury that he had last year. So I mean, if
he's not that hurt, Max Johnson's just better than him.
And
I don't think so, dude, because he had to get a bunch of surgeries and stuff like that. I mean, he had some very
I'm not
weird
saying
injuries.
he wasn't hurt then, but I don't think he's hurt now.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying like because he was hurt, that performance that Max Johnson put on, I don't know how you can take the team away from him. I mean, he went into number 5 Florida and won as a true freshman.
I mean, it's got to be Max's team.
It has to be. The team bought into him.
If it's not, if Myles Brennan starts this year, I guarantee Ed Ogeron will be on the hot seat at the end of the year.
Dude, and the thing is that I know in my heart that Myles Brennan is going to start, dude. I've seen multiple pictures of him on the.
No, wasn't Max Johnson running first team reps at the spring game?
Yeah,
they both were though. I mean, they're just gonna say that, but I've seen so many pictures that they put out on Instagram and stuff like that. That Coach O has put out. Myles Brennan is always there, man. I mean, he was sitting right at the right hand of Coach O at one of the team meetings. They had like some big team dinner, and he sat right there.
He's a senior. I mean, he's a leader on the team, whether he's the starting quarterback or not.
No. You got to look at the social media posts that LSU football puts out. I mean, I don't see that much Max Johnson. I see a lot of Myles Brennan on there.
Yeah, man. And plus,
but
like,
if you look,
like it's his team.
If they do that, that's a big mistake.
Yeah, it's huge. That's
a big mistake.
And I think
Max Johnson, it just seemed like he had that little like that it factor. Like Myles Brennan played well. It's not like he's a bad quarterback. He couldn't win the games. And I know it's not all on him. LSU had the worst defense in the country when they were playing. That's fair. But Max Johnson just he's got it. You can just tell.
Yeah. But
I do have to say, after that Florida game, I was out in Baton Rouge that night. Max Johnson dropped his dick on Florida, flew home, and then I saw him at the Sonic drive-thru getting a slushie, like a box.
Go.
Gotta say, I think he definitely has that it factor.
Because he gets slushies from Sonic after the game.
Yep.
Like his mom gave him like $20 after the game. Like, great job, honey.
Yeah. Good job, bud.
I don't know, dude. I just think that, especially looking at, if you look at what LSU kind of likes doing, I just don't see him throwing a freshman quarterback because he'll still have 4 years of eligibility, so he's going to be classified as a freshman.
He got the only important wins of the season.
Look, I think that Max Johnson should start. I completely agree with you all there, dude. I think he's the better quarterback. But there's also something to say.
You just said that
there's
Myles Brennan's the guy.
But no. But I'm saying there's an argument to put Myles Brennan out there next year to make sure that Max Johnson has the time to develop.
He's going to transfer. Why would he not transfer?
I don't know if he would. I don't know if he would just 1 year off because
you think too highly. You think you put too much of a moral aspect into these players wanting to be loyal to the program. They can transfer for no penalty now. this year.
I know.
There's zero. They're gonna go want to. They're gonna want to go start.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that he's not gonna.
Brennan wants to play for this team.
I'm not.
Brennan wants to be an LSU quarterback. He could have left a long time ago.
Look, I'm not saying that either. I didn't say that either of these two guys are going to leave. I don't think that Max Johnson's going to transfer, even if Myles Brennan starts. I mean, Myles Brennan is a senior. You know what I mean? He plays 1 year. The job is his next year. There is no controversy. You know what I mean? So if he's already on the team and then you start Myles Brennan, he can't just transfer mid-season. You know what I mean? And then by the end of the season, he is the starter. So you would give him that year to grow, which wouldn't hurt him by any means. But
he already had the year to grow. He's not going to want another one.
Hey, look, I just think that there's an argument for Myles Brennan. I want Max Johnson to start, without no question in my mind. I think he's the better quarterback and he's the future of LSU. But do you want to risk putting him out there too early and letting this kind of Jordan Jefferson mindset setting in? You know what I mean? Whereas this endless cycle of those two quarterbacks going back and forth like that, of just failure after failure because they probably got in too early. Another year or two, and they might have had a chance.
No, in my opinion, Max Johnson already proved that he can handle it. He came in last year and other than Bama and Auburn, he beat the two hardest teams on our schedule last year. So I think he's already got it. And I think next year's LSU team has a lot of people coming back. And really, I think that team with the right quarterback has a chance to win a championship. I don't want that to be ruined with Myles Brennan starting. Just because
I 100% agree with Blake. If it was a reloading year for LSU, I would agree, give Max Johnson time. But this is a team that could legitimately push for a national championship. Why sit back and sit the better quarterback because you don't want to throw him out there too early? I just don't see how LSU makes that decision. I
don't see, and I think that it all ties back to what Blake said earlier, is that if he does make that decision, and for those reasons, he's going to be on the hot seat if it doesn't turn out well. Because this, like you said, this is a team that can win, without a doubt. So it's going to be interesting moving forward, kind of seeing what they're going to end up doing, dude. But I hope he starts Max Johnson. I really do. If they come out and say that kind of stuff, where they say, this has been Myles Brennan's team for years. It's always supposed to have been his team. He waited through Joe. He was loyal to us. We're going to be loyal to him. If they say that and it doesn't work out, dude, I mean, it's going to be nearing the end of Ed Orgeron's time at LSU.
And deservingly so. Because like I said, I've said it before, a fifth-year senior quarterback should not be in a competition and actually kind of losing that competition to basically a true freshman.
You don't get to – and nowadays in college football, you should not get to start just because you're older. The game has changed. They're like freshmen – if it's a game-breaking, talented freshman, you just have to play them.
Like, imagine Justin Fields starting for that Georgia team. I'm sorry. that has to be said.
They win the national championship.
They had loyalty to Jake Fromm, and it bit them in the ass. If Justin Fields would have started for that Georgia team,
they win the national championship.
Facts.
I mean, dude, you hear this a lot. People say this a lot. I mean, it is a business. I mean, even at the NCAA level. So, I mean, yeah, I think that loyalty to an extent's got to be kind of taken out of the equation, just because – that's why all these guys are transferring. They don't have any loyalty anymore.
It's just not real. The teams don't have – I mean, it's not real anymore. Teams don't actually have a loyalty to these kids. Why should these kids have a loyalty to the teams? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just different. Football is different now.
Yeah, dude. It's totally different.
How many times has Nick Saban bounced somebody on a scholarship? He's promised them a scholarship, and then signing day he signs 32 other people, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, we don't have room for you."
It's the nature of college football now, of big-time college football now. Yeah. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, that's just how it is.
And every team does that. I'm not just, as much as I hate Nick Saban in Alabama, and I respect Nick Saban, it's just, every team does that kind of stuff. If you bounce those guys and you kind of screw them over, then LSU doesn't get those guys, or all of your competitors don't get the recruits that they want just because you bounce somebody, and they got to spend 2 years a year in JUCO or whatever, a transfer. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be a tough one. But
Ogeron comes out and says, "We're gonna start Myles Brennan for the first game." I'm gonna fucking shit a brick.
well, I don't think you have to worry about that because I think he's gonna start Max Johnson. But moving on to our next topic, man, NBA playoffs. I'm rooting for Drew Holiday on this one. I mean, no questions asked. I want the Bucks to win now that the Pelicans are out. I'm tired of people saying that John Morant and RJ Barrett are better than Zion. It's like, dude, get your head out your ass. It's like, come on. We all know what's up. But, Drew Holiday, I'll always root for that guy, man. I'm going to miss Drew Holiday.
Why?
Yeah.
Dude, he's just such a stand-up guy. He's just a small market guy.
I don't know. He did request a trade.
That's what I'm saying. Why are you so loyal to him? He wanted out.
Hey, man, but if I went through all the AD stuff and not re-signing DeMarcus Cousins and I was loyal to the program and I saw like a rebuilding session where eventually he was going to be traded anyway, I mean, I would have been like, I would have requested out too.
You're a big loyalty guy, Sean. I respect that.
I'm loyal to him. I think that AD wearing the "That's All, Folks" shirt, that's rubbing it in people's faces. There's a right way to do it. Chris Paul did it the right way. There's reports of him crying as he was leaving on the plane, from New Orleans. Drew Holiday donates to the city. He's still involved in businesses in the city and stuff like that. AD just got a Ruffles deal and fucked off. So I don't know, man.
I love to see all the past greats from New Orleans being in the playoffs this year. AD, Drew, CP3. A lot of people think he has an MVP discussion. I don't know. I don't watch it that well, but a lot of people are kind of chanting for him for like a dark horse MVP guy.
Well, that's who I want the Suns to win the championship. Mainly because I want them to beat the Lakers because I cannot stand the Lakers. But
I think it's cool that the Lakers have become that team again that everyone hates. Like they're relevant finally again.
That's what they've always been.
I don't think it's cool at all.
Yeah, no, I hate the Lakers. I hope they're forever irrelevant.
Yeah, dude. When they were losing with Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram, that was a great couple years when they were just like one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah, and we just took on their shit.
Yeah, we took the old Lakers, truly.
Well, I think we're getting rid of Lonzo soon anyway. So.
No, he's coming back. I guarantee it.
Oh, Josh, screw off.
He's coming back.
Oh my God.
He's in the city.
He's good.
I just think he
wants to be in the city.
He just doesn't fit with Point Zion, man.
He doesn't.
I'm not arguing that he should be back. I just think he's going to end up being back.
Because he's Zion's friend, huh? I think that's going to be kind of the same thing too.
No, because it's the Pelicans. It's the Pelicans. It's New Orleans sports. They're not going to make the right move.
That is so fucking true.
I don't know, dude. I'm positive. I think that we're going to make a huge move this offseason. I think we're going to go after like Brogdon or somebody else that can space the floor.
Brogdon isn't a huge move.
It's better than Lonzo Ball. I mean, at least he can shoot off the ball threes. And imagine how many open threes he'll get with Zion driving the paint. If he can consistently knock those down, I mean, we got something special on our hands. He doesn't need to go off.
They've always been missing. There's that shooter.
Great 3-point shooters come to die in New Orleans. Look at JJ Redick.
You remember how old
he was? He was one of the best, and then we got him, and he was just like, "I'm good with the 3-ball."
We'll get
Brogdon. Podcast. That's what he said. I'm gonna start a podcast.
We'll get Brogdon, and then he'll suck. It's just who we are. We are the worst run organization in the history of professional sports.
I don't know about that. I don't know about the worst run, dude. We our credit,
we're top five, dude. I mean, it's bad.
I don't think so, because to our credit, we always somehow get the next guy. You know what I mean? Like there are organizations that have gone.
We can't do anything when we get them. They fall into our hands.
Look, I agree with you, but like, dude, some places can't even get that first step. You know what I mean? Like the Charlotte Bobcats.
It's not impressive when it falls into our hands because we suck.
We get lucky and win the lottery because we're terrible, and then we get the next thing and we can't do anything with him, and then that player
That shows how bad we are.
Do we just not have the money to do it, or
No, it's
how
the
does
money,
that
the
work?
desire. I don't know what it is. They just don't make a big splash ever.
Dude, I think that we try to make these moves. I mean, like DeMarcus Cousins was a good example. Who would have thought that dude would come in and tear his Achilles like that? I mean, we've also had a lot of bad luck associated with this too. I mean, Omer Asik was killing it in Houston when we traded for him. He gets to us, and then he turns into this like ugly little giraffe out there that's sickly and dying. You know what I mean? It's just like we have bad luck associated with it. I think we make the right moves, we just can't pan out.
This I will say, David Griffin made some terrible moves this last year. It's just he doesn't know what he wants to do. It's like, all right, do you want to roll with the young guys and develop them, or do you want to get veteran people? He needs to pick one.
Okay, but think about this. Normally, an off season is, I imagine, somewhere between 3 and 4 months. Somewhere, if I had to guess, it's somewhere around there. He had a month last season. Free agency and this trade window period was like 2 weeks long. Okay, so he went in there and Drew requested a trade when the season ends. All right, he's got a couple weeks. He's got like 2 weeks in between. Then he's got another 2 weeks. That's the trade period. So he's got to set a market. He's got to find out what he wants. He's got to find a new head coach to do it. So like he's got all this stuff going on. I think you're right. I think he didn't know what he wanted, but he also didn't have a choice. I mean, Stan Van Gundy didn't get in the building until 2 weeks before the season started. So like, usually you would include a coach in that discussion, and he just didn't even have one. Maybe he fired Gentry at the wrong time, but I don't know if Stan Van Gundy's any better than him.
It's self-imposed. They do it to themselves. Like, you put yourself on this time crunch because they wait till the last minute to make decisions on coaching.
Like, dude, did you see what
that's a good point.
Did you see what the Rockets got for James Harden? Why didn't we get involved in that James Harden thing? We had the assets to go get James. Why didn't we?
They don't. First of all, I think that they just they have this attitude that they can roll with the underdogs, and that the big names don't want to come to New Orleans, and that's fine. We can win with what we got. But
I think we have to have that.
They do the same thing in football.
But that organization and that kind of structure that's being brought to the Pelicans with David Griffin. I mean, we had Rita Benson, when Tom died, she took that team over at Del Demps. And the decision makers that were involved in that, I believe they got Mickey Loomis involved in the organization to help at the end of the Del Demps era when they fired him, and then they hired David Griffin. So what that tells me is that Mickey Loomis, a very smart man who knows, at least organizational stuff. He may not know basketball itself, but he knows the organization side of the business as well as anybody. I think he's put a lot of faith in David Griffin, and from what I've seen from him, David Griffin sounds like a smart guy. I think he is the guy to fix all those problems.
He sounds like a smart guy. I think he's a freaking used car salesman, dude. He's kept on everything, but the results speak for themselves. He just hasn't done anything good so far.
But think about his first 2 years in the organization. His first year is the Anthony Davis trade, and he has to negotiate with Anthony Davis and start the Zion era. Okay, so he put together that team for a year, came back, and then the next year is COVID. You know what I mean? Zion's first season's COVID. He plays 17 games, and then he plays a little bit in the little bubble basketball, which it's nothing compared to real playoff basketball with the fans involved and stuff like that. So this is kind of his first year coming off of that short off season. I just think that we need to let him have a couple of years before we can say definitively that he's as bad as Del Demps, because that dude is bad. That dude is bad.
This the whole policy of have a couple years, in general, I just don't think the Pelicans are in a position to be able to do that. They're going to sell the team.
They're going to sell the team. Zion's going to request a trade. We don't have a couple years.
We're going to lose the franchise, and the franchise player by just sitting back on our ass and waiting for David Griffin to figure it out.
But I
We
mean, if
have
you
to
look
do
at
something.
And
if you
in
look at
truth,
our
I think it's past us not being a desirable place to go. I know there's not like a huge basketball culture here, but there have to be some veteran guys in the league seeing the potential the team has, and guys that would want to come play with us. Who wouldn't want to play with Zion?
They want Zion. They just don't want to do it here.
They want Zion to come play for them.
Yes.
And look, dude, I think that just, New Orleans isn't a desirable market, and we need a few years to make trades and to make we got assets from those deals. We got tons of assets, but you have to give the organization.
I don't think Milwaukee's a more desirable place to go than New Orleans. I'd rather live in New Orleans than fucking Milwaukee.
I think that's a great point. That Milwaukee can do it because they have Giannis, and I think that we can do it if we have Zion. You know what I mean? Zion's not going to leave for 6 years. Zion's not going to leave for 6 years because of the contracts and the way that he's going to get his supermax. He's going to sign that extension. So we've still got 4 to 5 years before he signs the second extension.
He's not gonna.
We have a couple years.
I don't see how he stays from anything past 2 years.
It's because of the contracts. He can get a
supermax somewhere else.
Not as much with the Pelicans though. See, that's called the Rose Rule. And if he makes a certain amount of All-Star games, or if there's certain accolades that qualify you for this, but it allows the team that drafted you to offer you way more money than anyone else can offer you. I think it's like 20. It's like $5 million a year more, a total of like $40 million over 4 years or something like that. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of money. So he's not going to leave until after that.
No,
I think he will.
What if he just signs the contract, right? He signs it, and then he just requests a trade later that year because we suck. That's what AD did.
Exactly. He saw what AD went through. He's not going to want to do the same thing. He saw AD sign the Supermax contract and the extension and wait for us to catch up, and it just never happened. He's not going to want his career wasted.
AD left in his 5th year with the Pelicans. Okay, so he went through he had the first Supermax extension, and then the second one. The rules are a little different. That was the second Supermax contract that Anthony Davis signed. The first one, he signed and then stayed 2 years. No, I'm positive. I'm right about this. I'm definitely right about this.
He never signed a second extension. He did his rookie contract, then he signed his Supermax. Year 2 of his Supermax, he left.
No, he didn't, because he re-signed with the Lakers the year he got there. He signed an extension the year he got there.
That was his second big contract in the NBA.
I don't think that's right, but I'll trust you on this one. I'll trust you on this one then. But I think that as a fan base, we have to protect the Pelicans from themselves. One of the things that the fans do a lot is they put a lot of pressure on this organization to make moves too quickly, and then we go get Omer Ashiks. We have to wait till the market's right. I mean, name a superstar that wants out of their team. I'll wait. You can't really.
DJ McCollum. I mean, if you pay them enough, they'll want out.
But that's the thing, though, is that you have to get them here to do that, and there has to be a market for them. There's no market for anybody right now. Who are we going to go buy? We can go buy Brogdon because he's kind of a patchwork to get us winning. But I mean, so my question would be, what's y'all's solution for this year?
Damian Lillard.
Well, I don't see him leaving. He loves Portland. That's a dream pick right there. But
God, I wish he would leave. That's one of those guys that I think desperately wants to win, and it would be so nice to get a guy like that in with Zion. A guy experienced, who's cold as fuck, that wants to win and is desperate for a title.
I mean, you just got to try. David Griffin has to, he has to be on the phone constantly this summer, just gouging.
They need to make every single one of these guys tell them, no, fuck off.
Yes.
I'm saying, what's the shame?
Yes, they just stay on the phone, call everyone, gouge interest in every superstar there is. It's time to stop fucking around.
We don't have time to wait. That's my whole thing, Sean. I understand there's value in sitting and waiting, and I think it would help. But I just don't think the actual team itself is going to last if we do that.
And then
I think that was the job that should have been done 10 years ago.
And look, I think that there's an element of truth to that. I don't think that you're entirely wrong saying that. But my question to you is, what's the move? You know what I mean? Everyone says that we need to make this big move, this big splash, but what is it? And I think,
what, Sean?
And if we can't do that, then that's going to be an issue.
No, listen, I just want David Griffin to say, look, I tried to get anyone and any superstar I could. I just want to know that he's trying.
I think that he is, but I mean, I think there's also an element of truth to that. One thing that always frustrates me is that David Griffin only sounds smart after something bad happens. He's not a very proactive person when it comes to the media, and I think a lot of GMs are like that because they don't want to release too much and stuff like that. But you only really hear from David Griffin either when he's calling out the league, which I love, that's a whole different topic, or when he's basically apologizing or justifying a bad move. So I think that is an issue. Or he's telling people to leave Zion alone, one of the two.
I'd rather us be shamelessly trying to get dudes than behind those doors just sucking ass. Like,
I agree.
Yeah.
We're at the point where we have no reason to have pride. There's no reason to have too much pride to throw around money at these guys and make them tell us no. Like, we don't have the pedigree to sit back and say, we're the Lakers, come sign here.
right.
Well, talking about getting players to the Pelicans, in order to do that, you have to have a group of players that really promote the organization and what they're trying to do. And a lot of reports have been coming out about the Pelicans not kind of merging well together. There's some discontent. Some people are reporting that it's between Brandon Ingram and Steve Van Gundy. Some people are reporting that it's Stan Van Gundy. My bad, guys. I always do that. Stan Van Gundy and David Griffin. Personally, I don't think that there's a ton of truth to that. I think that losing, people are always going to be frustrated, but I think it's the kind of thing that winning will cure. I don't think that it's, irreparable by any means.
I mean, no. I mean, there's probably is some elements of truth of it because anytime something bad comes out about the New Orleans basketball organization, it always ends up being true. So what I'm going to say to that is, yeah, it's got to suck because it's constantly losing, and I just feel like the players probably feel like there's no hope. A lot of that has to do with them probably being a little bit soft. They have to want to win. They have to want to improve, and they need to start taking it a little more seriously. But I also agree. I mean, Zion is playing with James Johnson, Eric Bledsoe, Steven Adams. I mean, he's playing with it. So I can see why he's frustrated. And that reverts on your GM, David Griffin. So David Griffin needs to right his wrongs of this last offseason because this last offseason was atrocious.
I agree. I think that it was a very bad offseason. I think there can be justifications for it. But looking back on it, besides the picks that we got, and maybe Steven Adams if he comes back next year and we find out how to work him in right, besides that, I think Eric Bledsoe is just trade bait. Like, someone come buy him. You know what I mean?
All of them are.
Yeah.
Everybody that we brought in last year. Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, all of them should be gone. There's no reason to keep them.
Especially on that contract extension that we gave Steven Adams. He's owed quite a lot of money.
Why did David Griffin extend Steven Adams when he didn't even know how he'd fit in with the team? He got him and then immediately extended him.
Well, I think it's because he didn't want to trade somebody and then get nothing in return. So I think that was just kind of like, let me at least sign him and then we can trade him later if we're not going to use him. But at least in that first part, I kind of like keeping him because once you get rid of that, that's cap space gone. He's only signed for 2 years. So if things go terrible, I think it's 2 more years if I have that right. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that we are going to end up trading him. I think we got to wait through this offseason. Especially, I think we're definitely going to trade him, especially because of how well Jackson Hayes has developed. They came out with reports saying that he's going to play in the Summer League, which I think is going to be good for him. I think he's going to become a leader kind of amongst the young guys. I just hope we don't trade him, man. I think that some teams are going to try to include him in that trade because he looks special. He looks really special.
No, I agree on that. I want to keep Jackson Hayes, but if you have to trade Jackson Hayes to get a superstar, you do it.
I agree.
I think what you do is you sit down Brandon Ingram and Zion, give them a pen and paper, and ask them to write down a top 5 at every position, and you try to get that done.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree, and make them feel important.
Yeah, and then tell them to get on the phone with those guys because, I mean, the truth is that players are the ones who recruit in the NBA. GMs in them have all those restrictions about talking to players, but the Pelicans not the Pelicans. The players just go around that. The players don't care.
I mean, isn't that? I mean, it's illegal technically, right? Tampering.
But they do it.
Yeah, it is. And plus, even if they do get caught, it's like I think it's a small fine. So it's like, does LeBron James care about paying a $5,000 to $15,000 fine or whatever it is? His children won't eat McDonald's for a week or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's up to the players, and it's up to the GM too, though. So they all have to look at themselves in the mirror because I really do think this offseason is really the last chance for this organization to survive in New Orleans. I think if we botch this offseason, it's done. It's over.
I think it just depends on how egregious it is. I think that next year we're going to come out, and even if we have a similar team, I think we make the playoffs. I think we were like 3-11 in games with 3 points or less. So, a couple more baskets fall here and there. We make the playoffs. So I think that we're going to improve next year no matter what. It's just a question is, how much do we have to improve to keep those guys happy? Are they going to be happy with a play-in? Or are they going to want to be like a 5th seed, which I think is a reasonable goal if we have a good offseason, is a 5th or 4th seed.
Well, you need to be a four-quarter team. You have to play. I mean, how many games were there this year where we lost double-digit leads?
Oh, a bunch.
I sent it in the group message not long ago. It was like a ridiculous stat.
It was like 14
so many.
15.
Yeah, and that was midway through the season. It's just something's got to be done.
Yeah. Well, now that we're kind of wrapping up on the Pelicans, moving on to the NFL. There's a lot of big names being thrown out there for trades. As of right now, there's Julio Jones and Aaron Rodgers. What do y'all think about the Saints possibly getting one of those two guys and like the possibilities moving forward, even though we don't have like the cap space for them?
No fucking way.
I agree. There's no fucking way that happens. I was seeing Twitter going all over it and saying that they're going to that Julio's coming to the Saints. It's not happening, guys. Come on.
No.
Be real. They're not going to trade him inside the NFC South.
They're asking for a first round from everybody else. They would ask for 3 from New Orleans.
Yeah. I just don't see it happening.
But, it's still, I mean, it would be nice to get Julio out of the NFC South. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, so who do you think he's going to go to?
I know he went, all this kind of exploded because Shannon Sharp called him on live TV without him. I don't think he knew he was on TV, but
I was about to ask. Did he
said
know?
He wanted out of Atlanta, and then Shannon Sharp brought up Dallas, and he was, talking about how he wants to win. So, Dallas could be a destination. I think New England could maybe be a destination too. They spent a ton of money in free agency this offseason, so I don't know if they have any left, but Belichick seems to be able to find a way to make it work.
You know a team that I've actually heard a lot? The Arizona Cardinals.
Their wide receiver core would be
absolutely ridiculous. I just don't see how they do it.
Him and D-Hop.
Imagine him, D Hopkins, and somebody else sitting in like a trips, like a bunch of trips or something like that. It'd be near impossible to stop. Even if you put Julio on the backside and have DeAndre Hopkins and some other people over there on the trip side. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they can do with that. That's going to be really special. The question is can they get him? You know what I mean? Can they pay more than anybody else to get him?
Well, that's got to be the deal with.
Pay thing. I mean, it's going to be draft picks. I mean, that Atlanta wants the draft capital, so I don't know. It's going to be a tough trade, but if somebody doesn't offer a first round pick for Julio, they're out of their mind. I mean,
Well, I mean, he's got to be what, like 31, 32 at this point. I mean, he's still Julio Jones. You know, I'm not saying his production hasn't dipped at all. He's still Julio, but do you spend a first round?
Yeah, especially after Tom Brady this year, you know, the value of these veteran playmakers and just like dominant older players, it just can't be overstated. So I think teams are going to jump on it.
I'm just trying to think. I don't know. Dallas would obviously be insane. That would just be another insane wide receiver core. Because who do they have? They've got Gallup, CeeDee Lamb. They'd have Julio.
Don't they have Amari
Cooper?
Yeah,
Amari Cooper. Yeah.
I don't think Gallup. I think Gallup's gone.
Is he?
I could be wrong though.
I have no clue. I know that he was there, and I think there might have been a report saying that he was gone. But even if Julio goes there, he's not going to be playing much anyway. He's kind of the last guy in that rotation, and if Julio gets there, he's going to be shoved down another spot on the roster or whatever. So I don't know, man. But what about Aaron Rodgers? I mean, there's a lot of reports saying out there that Green Bay is going to do everything they can to keep him, and that there's really not a sign of any serious discussions between any teams. I mean, Denver was rumored at one point because I think there was a picture of Aaron Rodgers and John Elway playing golf or something like that, which might be tampering. They said they wanted to look into that. But, I mean, there hasn't really been many reports of the Broncos in a couple weeks now. You know what I mean? Everybody's silent. There's no news coming out about this.
I don't think Green Bay is entertaining any offers. I bet people have called. I just highly doubt they're really because they've said over and over they don't want to trade him. They've done nothing. They've done everything to piss him off, and nothing to want to keep him there.
Do you think that Julio Jones could be the Band-Aid over this little wound that they have brewing?
I mean, it'd be a great Band-Aid.
How sick would that be if we're talking about these two guys? Why don't they just do a trade deal between those two teams? Atlanta is in desperate need of something other than Matt Ryan.
No, Atlanta's buying into Matt Ryan. They still think Matt Ryan's got 3 to 5 more years.
Yeah, they think that he's got everything. They think that he's got everything they need, and I don't think that Aaron Rodgers would want to play for the Falcons. I honestly think that he'd rather retire. I mean, he's Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? He's got the name power. He's got everything he needs to retire. So at this point, it's just how long does he feel like putting his body at risk to win? So I think he's serious about retiring if Green Bay doesn't trade him. I don't think he plays another snap for Green Bay unless they make a big trade and somehow convince him.
I think he'd play for him again, but they'd have to do – I don't think he's going to retire. I mean, I know the whole thing with did y'all hear about Jeopardy? You know, he's a huge Jeopardy fan, and Alex Trebek died, so he wanted to be the host.
And he hosted one or two. He was good.
He will do that at some point. I just don't think he retires from football right now to do that. He's going to play another snap. I think if Green Bay doesn't trade him and if they'd find a way to mend that relationship, he could play in Green Bay again. And we haven't heard much from him, so we don't know necessarily how true all of these reports are about, how bad it really is between the two sides.
Yeah, and I mean, he dropped this kind of bombshell. I think the only thing he really said was on draft night. He wanted it known that he leaked it, that he wanted to trade and stuff like that during the draft.
Schefter said that he just ran with that story. I don't think he had really a whole lot of sources. I think Adam Schefter came out and said he kind of just ran with that story.
I mean, dude, that's one hell of a story just to get out there and start saying, because that's a thick story that could change a lot of lives.
It's fully false, but I think it might have been pumped up a little bit. I think it's been kind of stated that it was a little pumped up.
I mean, dude, to me, Adam Schefter is one of those guys that he's really popular with a lot of athletes, so I don't think he goes out there and pushes that story without Aaron Rodgers or somebody pushing that narrative. You know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't bring up one of the biggest names in football like this if he didn't have some sort of insider information beforehand, even if it wasn't as thick and as credible, maybe as he would have liked. You know what I mean? I feel like he would have had a discussion with either in allies in the Packers or with Aaron Rodgers. So,
yeah, I'm sure he had something, but I thought I heard something not long ago that it was a little blown out of proportion. on draft night because it was a huge. I remember what you're talking about. It was a gigantic story.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was going to see him traded that night the way they were talking.
I think a lot of people did. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that he was going to go to Denver, and Green Bay was going to do either draft a young quarterback or finally fully embrace Jordan Love, who, by the way, he wasn't even the backup last year in Green Bay. I mean, what was the thought process behind that pick if he's not at least your backup? I mean, there's no thought process there from this organization. And if I was Aaron Rodgers, I'd be pissed. I mean, I can't even name off the top of my head the last time they went and drafted like an offensive weapon, like a receiver.
It's been since like 2002 or 2008. It's been forever that they've drafted a skill player.
Yeah. I mean, I think it might have been either like Jordy Nelson or James Jones, one of those two. I think those are like the last couple picks.
Or a defensive player. I mean, they have some defensive spots that they needed help at, and last year they just punted that pick and picked a backup quarterback. They traded up in the first round to get a backup quarterback. So I mean, it's just like they're doing everything to piss him off and make him not want to stay there.
Yeah, I bet he finally realizes how Brett Favre felt when they drafted him. Brett Favre went and got a trade and stuff like that. So it's crazy we've kind of come full circle in that organization. And, in all fairness to the organization, name another team that's had two back-to-back superstar quarterbacks like this other than like maybe the 49ers back in the day with Joe Montana and Steve Young. So, I mean, to their credit, it's worked up until recently. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of alienated. I think players have more power nowadays than when Brett Favre was in the league. So maybe that has something to do with it. But, like, if Jordan Love pans out, everyone's going to be saying how smart this organization is, even though they just lost probably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. In my opinion, he's at least top 5 in pure talent.
Does that lead us into our next discussion about college quarterbacks? Top 5? Or no, our rookie quarterbacks?
Yeah, man. And talking about organizations drafting young, we kind of wanted to do this as our random topic of the day. What's like the best? Who do you think is going to be the best rookie quarterback coming out of this draft? Because they had a lot of guys coming out of this draft. My personal pick is going to be the guy from North Dakota State that went to San Francisco. I think that he is going to have a fantastic career there. He fits into their offense. It's literally the same offense he ran at North Dakota State. So I think Trey Lance is going to have a bright future there. I don't think he starts right away. I think he's going to have a couple years to develop under Jimmy Garoppolo. But if Jimmy Garoppolo starts doing poorly this year, they're just going to stick him in there. I mean, they want to win. They got a good team. But who do y'all think is going to be your rookie QB of the year?
I don't know. I think it has to be. I don't want to go with the easy out, but I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a really good first year. I think he's going to have the most productive year because he's definitely got, I feel like, the starting job locked down. I feel like you were saying with Lance, he's who I'm most excited to see play. For sure. How much he will play, I don't know.
Yeah, he's kind of that like middle of the road guy, kind of, It all depends on if he played good enough competition at North Dakota State. I mean, he played a lot of great defenses, especially in that conference that he's in. He played Nichols in the playoffs, which has a fantastic defense, and he did very well against them. And he's won multiple national championships, which are hard to win at any level. I don't care, what anybody tells you. It's just as hard to win a national championship in the FCS as it is in in D1 in normal D1 college football.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the talent's not there, but yeah, I think you're right. He's an interesting guy.
I don't know if that really makes so much a difference for them. I mean, you still have to put the ball in people's hands, right? I mean, Did he have any stud wide receivers in North Dakota? I don't know. Maybe, but he still has to get the ball there. He didn't throw his first interception until his second season, I think, playing.
Which was one game.
UCLA. Yeah, in that one game, he threw an interception. I know there have been a couple things maybe about his accuracy. I think that's like the one knock some people are having on him. I mean, for a guy that didn't I mean, I don't know his ceiling. I'm not sure we know what his ceiling is because he played what 17 games, 16, 17 games in
Yes.
college. It's hard to know. There's a lot out there. A lot up in the air with him. But I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I think the biggest difference for him is just going to be like not reading. He's going to have that kind of next level defense that he really hasn't seen. You know, a lot of FCS teams run very basic packages. So when you start disguising coverages, that might throw him off. But he did very, very well. You know, in the FCS. So I'm excited for him. But
No college quarterback coming in is ready to read NFL defenses. It's just a completely different game. And so, I mean, it's not fair to say because he's from North Dakota State that he's not. I mean, nobody is.
Right.
But
yeah, I think it's a good point.
yeah, my sleeper pick for, I guess, not really much of a sleeper, but I have a hard time thinking that Justin Fields isn't going to be a good player this year. I'm not saying the Bears are going to be great, but I think he ended up at a good spot for him, honestly, because he's going to go in there. He's going to get early playing time. He gets to have a veteran quarterback like Andy Dalton, who can help him out a little bit, who's kind of got a similar playing style, a little bit mobile, can move around a little bit, strong arm, accurate. I mean, they're vaguely similar. But it's just, I think that he's set up well to have a decent rookie season.
I think you're right, man. And I also think that, I mean, the people of Chicago are excited, man. I mean, they finally got their guy on the draft board, man. Every time they want to go get somebody else, you know, they just pick some Mitchell Trubisky that no one's ever heard about or anything like that. So, you know, man, I am happy for Bears fan in that sense. I think they've got an interesting roster over there. They've got a great defense. I think it's going to take a couple years for that offense to get going, though. I think maybe he might have a good year. But
they drafted some O-linemen, I believe. You know, their O-line was a big issue. Their run game is a big issue. I think they were worse in the NFL in running. So, they've got some things they got to figure out. But if they can put some weapons around him and take some of the pressure off of him that he has coming in, I think he can be really successful.
So what do you think? What do you guys think about Trevor Lawrence going to the Jaguars and having Tim Tebow there, either as like a mentor kind of guy, or as maybe just a guy in the background?
Tim Tebow's a PR guy. He's a jersey sales guy.
I think you're right.
He's there to put butts in seats.
Yeah, dude. I think he might have like a Taysom role kind of, a Taysom Hill kind of role in him, maybe.
I don't think he's going to play at all.
Personally, I'll be surprised if he makes it out of training camp. Maybe because he's Urban's guy and Urban wants to help him out, but
he'll make the team. I think he'll be on the roster just so they can sell jerseys and they can put, for advertising and to fill the stadium. He'll make the team, but I don't think he'll play.
Yeah.
Or be anything worth noting. I mean, he's a good locker room guy, probably.
Yeah, probably
he would be a very good presence in the locker room, I could see.
So what do you think about Trevor Lawrence there? Because he's really the guy that is their future. I don't think there's any question that Tebow or Trevor Lawrence, who's going to start. It's going to be clearly Trevor Lawrence. So what do you think of his future?
Tebow's playing tight end.
Oh yeah, dude, Tebow's playing tight end without a doubt. They came out and said that he's not going to run any quarterback reps at all. Did they say that?
Well, no, I mean he was signed as a tight end.
Yeah,
he's wearing number 85.
Yeah, that's not even in the question. Him playing any QB, I don't think.
Well, I mean, I don't think he's going to be playing any significant snaps, but kind of the way that the Saints used Taysom Hill, put him out there, let him run Q power or something like that.
I think they signed him straight up as he's wearing 85.
Yeah, so I mean, he is a tight end. I don't think that with that. I mean, I know that they changed the number rules, but I know at least in the old rules, you couldn't take a snap with that jersey. So that's the designation right there, I guess, a tight end. So
my question is, besides publicity with bringing him in, does Urban maybe bring him in to, I don't know, maybe not mentor, but talk Trevor Lawrence through that first year? Being a guy coming in with a lot on his shoulder, a Heisman candidate, all that good stuff. I wonder if he brings Tebow in maybe just to coach up and talk up Trevor Lawrence a little bit, maybe on everything going into it. I was just wanting to pick y'all's brain with that, if y'all thought maybe that's a possibility at all.
Yeah, dude, I think that's a genius idea. I mean, I think that's what they're doing. I think the jersey sales are another plus to that. It helps justify it to like the front office and stuff. But when I look at Urban Meyer and I'm looking at the kind of guy that he wants Trevor Lawrence to learn from, there is no better guy than Tebow. He's a great human being. He's a natural born leader. He may not be the best quarterback on the planet, but I think that when you're talking about the culture and like the mindset you need to win, Tebow would be a fantastic mentor. I love that question. I think that's exactly what he's doing.
I don't know. I think it's purely PR business. I don't think it's to impact Trevor Lawrence. I mean, maybe it has a residual impact on Trevor Lawrence as far as a good locker room presence, but Tebow's been out of the league for 5-6 years now. He didn't really do much in the league. So I don't think it's much of a veteran leadership thing. I think it's purely because it creates hype around a Jaguars team that desperately needs some hype.
That needs any kind of attention.
That could be it, yeah.
I mean, I think it's I don't see Tim Tebow becoming a real key figure on that thing. And I don't think Urban Meyer really is a guy that would value that much. I mean, look at the guys that have been on Urban Meyer's teams. I mean, he's been surrounded by criminals. So I don't think he's not. So I don't think it's a culture move. I think it's purely PR, and I think it's smart. I mean, they're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, probably going to put butts in seats that's for sure.
No.
Yeah, Blake, what's your thoughts
on Tim?
Yeah, or Trevor Lawrence, or you never named your quarterback you wanted to be that you thought was gonna be good.
I mean, I don't think this rookie draft class QBs is going to live up to the hype. I mean, I think Ian Book has just as good of a chance as the rest of them. I mean, obviously, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields are going to get more of a chance, but I don't think Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he's just set up to fail.
Yeah, I mean, the number one pick usually is.
Yeah, dude, especially at the Jaguars too. That's going to be a rough one.
Yeah, I don't, and I never really got, like, I know he's like the perfect mold and everything for like a perfect quarterback, but he just never really impressed me that much. Like, he never did like otherworldly things like Burrow or Cam Newton or Andrew, people like that did, you know what I'm saying? He just never.
I don't know, man. He made it to how many national championships in his time? I think he made it to 3 or 4. No, 3, right?
2. He made it to 2 in a row, and then this last year they got stomped by Ohio State. And
I think his curse is he's not very outspoken. He doesn't have a swagger like Joe Burrow is. He kind of does it and then kind of just shuts up. I don't know if that's why. I agree with Blake. I find Trevor Lawrence harder to believe in than Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow did everything with a certain swag and everything. Trevor Lawrence has just done it and not flown under the radar, but he's just been very quiet with it.
But he's doing it. If Joe Burrow look who Joe Burrow was doing that against. That's my biggest thing is that Joe Burrow played what? In that crazy season, what, 7 top 10 teams?
7
and
top,
beat him?
Yeah. And he beat the preseason number 1, 2, 3, and 4 team.
I mean, Clemson doesn't get tested until the national championship. This was a rare year because Notre Dame was in the ACC. And they got a little bit of a test, but like they just don't play the level of competition that these other SEC quarterbacks are playing.
Like, I think Mac Jones will probably be better than Trevor Lawrence.
I was about to ask how we feel about Mac Jones. Wait, he landed at the Patriots, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see how that QB competition.
I mean, could not have been a better spot for him to go.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. It's also
Patriots. Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say it's also because, dude, Bill Belichick and Nick Saban are really, really good friends. I don't know if you all knew that, but they are like fantastic friends. So for him to go and get an Alabama quarterback means that Nick Saban is really high on this guy, and he is trusting his, one of his best friends in the world. So I mean, I think that says a lot about Mac Jones and the kind of faith that Bill Belichick has in this guy.
I just don't Mac Jones was just throwing to wide open receivers. I know it's an old out it's an argument that doesn't carry a lot of weight, but I just can't get past it. Like everybody he was throwing to was wide open.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah,
And
isn't it? What was the stat? Like how whatever many percentage of his throws, like they had like 6 yards of space, or it was crazy like that.
90% of his completions, the receiver had 4 or more yards of separation.
That's absolute insanity.
That's crazy. And dude, just think about the receiving cores he's had too. I mean, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy.
He's throwing to 4 first-round picks.
Henry Ruggs.
I mean, it
Devonta
makes
Smith.
you could just keep going. You start naming backups who are going to be first-round picks in a couple years too. Like we could keep going on that. I mean,
let me ask y'all this. We know, I mean, that receiving core that Bama had 2 years ago and the receiving core LSU had 2 years ago were arguably the 2 best wide receiving cores in college football history. Which group do y'all think are going to be better pros? I mean, I just think Chase is like the best wide receiver prospect like ever. I mean, he is.
I mean, you saw what Justin Jefferson did this year. Jamar Chase has a legitimate chance to be a top 3 receiver as far as yardage goes this year. Like
Marshall's good in his own. He's probably going to be the best receiver immediately on Carolina.
Who did he land at?
I think you're right.
Carolina.
Him and DJ Moore is going to be. That's a good little combo.
I agree.
It is. I think that Jamar Chase is going to be fantastic, especially because he has that Joe Burrow connection, man. I mean, that kind of chemistry you can't buy. You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, there are NFL teams that spend 10, 20 years trying to build that chemistry. I mean, A.J. Green and Andy Dalton, they couldn't force that chemistry even if they wanted to. So bringing in one of Joe Burrow's good friends is going to keep him happy, and there's just something that you just can't buy there. You know, they've just been playing together too long.
Yeah, him and T. Higgins are going to give teams trouble. I was watching like top 10 highlights from every NFL team, like a compilation earlier today. Joe Burrow and T. Higgins were a solid combo before Joe got hurt. And so I think just having Jamar Chase in that mix, it's going to be awesome to watch. It's going to be fun to watch.
I mean, they've got the other guy, too. Who's the other guy?
Named Boyd?
Yeah,
Boyd. Yeah, Boyd's really good, too.
There's also one more guy, too. I'm trying to remember his name. They've had Tyler Boyd, who I believe this was going to be his 3rd or 4th year. I think it's his 4th year. And then they also drafted another rookie, I think.
I'm telling you, Bengals on offense are stacked.
Let me look it up.
Well, with skill guys, I mean, did they get Joe protection?
Their line's going to be okay. I think they'll be okay.
They have a good, solid O-line. They will.
Also, are we going to get the same Joe Burrow?
Yeah.
Now, that's one thing that I mean, look, I don't question his heart and his resilience coming off an injury. I just hope we get the same guy.
Bro,
Yeah.
he's at camp participating for.
I know that's like crazy impressive, but I just don't think that's a good idea. Like I realize the importance to like him personally. He said it, like how important it is for his teammates to see him back early, like in week 1. But that could be the future face of the NFL. Like he doesn't need to rush that.
He might end up. We just don't know.
He also had like a brutal injury to his knee. I mean, he tore multiple ligaments in his knee, if I remember correctly.
He tore everything and broke the bone. I mean, it was legit terrible.
Now, granted, I mean, thanks to modern medicine, I think an ACL tear and things like that aren't as serious as they were 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. But that's still just such a serious injury to rush back from, man. And I think I know that they signed an offensive lineman and they drafted a few more. So we'll have to see how they pair out. But going into the future, man, they have a really bright future. I mean, they got Jamar Chase. T. Higgins was the guy that we were talking about earlier. Another guy that they drafted on that team from Clemson. So I mean, they've got some offensive weapons if they can protect Joe. So I think you're right. I don't know if we should rush him back.
Also, on the flip side of the ball, they do have Hendrickson from us. They signed him from us, so they'll be exciting next year.
I was sad to see him go.
Yeah, that was the worst move by the Saints in the entire offseason.
Yeah, that was the Pelicans' worthy move.
Maybe they've infected them now that Mickey Loomis is starting to help run the Pelicans.
What did he
too.
have, like 16 and a half sacks last year, and we let him walk?
He was second in the NFL in sacks. Like the
It's
most
so nice
important.
to have a guy like that line up next to Cam. You know.
Cam
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
do anything last year. Cam is at the bottom of his career.
Okay, well that's because team probably double team Cam and leave Hendrickson open, and that's why he probably had a very successful year.
A team started double teaming Hendrickson, I promise you.
And
Cam,
I'd say Cam is still
Cam
an
is
elite pass rusher in this
he's
NFL.
12 years old in the league. Like he's been there for so long. He's at the tail end of his career. It can't just be him anymore. He needs another guy, and Davenport's not it. And then the Saints went and drafted Joe Blow from Houston,
Yeah,
who also doesn't really seem to be it. So I don't know what their grand plan is, but
Well,
we'll
like every New Orleans organization, there is no plan.
Dude, I think that we're kind of in this spot where we tried to sell out winning with Drew and it didn't work, and not having the cap room to kind of work after that. I mean, it's like we planned to risk everything on Drew as if we knew it was like the end of the franchise. You know what I mean? So it's going to take, I think, like
we're not
3
even
or 4
paying
years
Drew that much. We're paying all the bums. We're paying Andrus Pete and Teron Armstead and
Well,
Marcus Davenport.
Teron
and
Armstead's a top 5 tackle in the lead, and Andrus Pete is a
When
solid
he can
guard in
play.
the NFL.
when he can play, they're hurt all the time.
That is definitely a big issue with our
Good
team.
Lord.
But I think that really speaks to our med staff. I mean, we have a lot of injuries that it seems like don't need to happen. You know, I mean, I don't know. And even with the Michael Thomas
think
thing
they're
coming
just
back,
soft.
it's like we pushed him to come back too soon, and then he got
No,
hurt
they come
again.
to New Orleans and they turn soft.
Just like the wall,
common
just like the
syndrome.
soil we build on, man. They turn soft.
It's a common syndrome.
But like continuing on the college football trail, who's y'all's sleeper pick next year to make the college football playoff? Other than Alabama, LSU, Clemson, Oklahoma, Georgia, they're all going to be in the convo. But what's like your sleeper team?
I think that's always a really hard one to do, just because there's so many. You never know which recruit is going to come out and be like the guy. I mean, besides like the guy, besides all the top teams that are always going to have a chance of getting there, I think that we're going to have to start looking out for a Pac-12 team here or there.
Yeah, say it, Sean. Which Pac-12 team?
I want to say Oregon is building a winner over there. I like Oregon as an organization. I think they do a very good job at what they do. They have the Nike connection, which helps a lot. And not to mention California with this whole allowing players to take money for doing commercials and to license their name and stuff like that. I think
Still
that's
an NCAA thing. They still can't do it. That's just California state legislation. They passed that. The NCAA, they still can't do it.
Well, when the NCAA eventually passes that, because I believe that is coming, we're going to have the same situation like we have in the NBA, man. The money is going to be elsewhere. Now, I think that the big programs will always be okay. LSU will always be LSU. Alabama will always be Alabama. But we're going to see, Colorado and Arizona and those kind of places starting to struggle to compete against that LA market. And I think that's either a team in LA, whoever can capitalize on that kind of boom in talent, or Oregon, because I think Oregon's going to be another state that ratifies that has a decent market. I think that the Pac-12 is going to rise very soon. But I just think it's a little too early to tell. You just never know who's going to come out and be the guy next year, the next freshman.
I want to say this is a team very near and dear to my heart, who I've been pushing for a while. I think Arizona State could put together a run in the Pac-12.
Arizona State is actually getting some hype on her.
Yeah, they are. And deservedly so, because their quarterback, Jalen Daniels, is a stud. And, just like with what you were saying, Sean, if you get enough of those West Coast guys around, I mean, they've got some of the best athletes in the country. And it's really a shame that USC, UCLA. What are they even now? They're almost a laughing stock in the Pac-12 now. It is a shame that one of those West Coast teams haven't been able to put together a playoff contender in a while.
Yeah.
And I think that Arizona State, they were right on the cusp of it this year. Gave up a couple big leads. I think one to USC. They had that USC game in the bag and then blew it in the fourth quarter. I think if they win that game, they go on a little run and maybe get a discussion. That's my contender for a playoff spot this year. A very dark horse, but I'd love to see it happen.
Yeah, I love Herm Edwards too, man. He's he's such a great guy, great coach. He's got tons of life talks on YouTube. I highly recommend them if you're getting into coaching or anything like that. They're great to listen to, or even if you just want to be a better person. I love that dude.
I will say they also have the best returning punter in all of college football.
Who gives a shit?
Dude, when you've got a guy that can hang it for 5 seconds and flip the field consistently, look,
Hey.
Michael Turk, that's all I'm going to say. He's a dog. He's a dog, and he's going to make a difference for that team next year.
All right, Blake, who's yours?
Mine, I have two. I think Ohio State's going to have a down year, so I could see either Wisconsin or Penn State sneaking in there.
Ooh.
And then also I think Miami's returning like everyone, and I think they went 10-2 last year, so I think they could potentially maybe upset Clemson and get in.
I'm on the same path as Blake here as far as looking at the conferences. I think the ACC, I think Clemson has a shot to slip up, and I think, I'm not on the Miami train, but I think another team out of the ACC that has some potential is North Carolina.
Yes.
I think they're good. Their quarterback is a legit first round guy. So I know they lost those 2 running backs, which hurts them. But I think my real sleeper, and it's a sleeper, is probably Texas.
Oh my!
Ooh. He's definitely a sleeper right there.
Sarkisian coming in. Sarkisian runs a good offense.
As a head coach.
Hey, we'll see about his head coaching. We'll see. I mean, he didn't really get that much of a shot at USC before he got fired.
Who's their quarterback?
Their quarterback is yet to be determined, I think.
You're correct about that. Ellinger was drafted, and they probably still don't have an idea. I was actually going to say that they probably – I'm going to think Sarkisian needs a few years, but I think you're right. I think he's a dangerous guy to put in Texas.
They have one of the best running backs in the country coming back next year. Their O-line is really solid. Their defense is decent. I just think that they could make a little run at Oklahoma and potentially win that Big 12 championship.
I don't know. Spencer Rattler coming back with a little more experience. He balled out against Florida. It's gonna be a tough pull, but I mean, shit, I'd like to see it happen.
All right, guys. So it seems like we're kind of coming to the end of this discussion and kind of the end of the episode and stuff like that. Is there any kind of closing thoughts that you guys have about anything that we've talked about?
Pelicans need to stop fucking around. If TJ Finley starts for Auburn is in trouble, and
LSU's in a good state though if that happens. But all right, well that's a good place to end it, guys. Y'all have a good night.